Well, Eric's back, and this will be the third and final little video that you'll be watching for Unit 1 of the Online Teaching Workshop, Spring 2016. I hope the previous area where you got a chance to do some work was thought-provoking, and so let's finish up this unit, and once you complete this unit, and I see that you've completed it, that'll give you access to the discussion area. You can get in there and talk to your fellow workshop participants if you choose to, certainly not required, or reach out to me if you've got questions, concerns, ideas, more things you want to tell me about. If you want to work on some of this stuff with my help, I would love to talk to you about it. So let me minimize myself here. So we saw this slide earlier, and I don't think this applies only to online students, but why do students succeed? They succeed when they are organized, when they complete their work on time because they've planned ahead and read directions. They're logging in and or coming to class frequently. They're participating regularly in the class. They're there, they get it, they're up to speed. And we know that our students are struggling when those things aren't happening. So when they have a lack of discipline to work independently and stay on task, when they aren't doing the reading, when they aren't reading the assignments, and they're not paying attention to due dates, and in general, when they have time management problems, when they fall behind, when they don't log in often enough, and those sorts of things. So hopefully you can see how the stuff we've talked about previously might give us some insight into how we can help students with these problems. Again, I'm not saying it's our fault, but I will say I've looked at literally hundreds of online courses. I've talked to many people who are teaching hybrid classes, and I've talked to a few people at least teaching flipped classes. And I'll go out on a limb and say I do think there are things that we can do to our courses, to the way we explain the expectations of our courses, the way we let students behind the curtain in terms of our pedagogical plan for the class, we don't have to use that term, to make sure that we are explicit with them about what we're doing in the class, about how the class is designed, about how what we're doing and what they're doing have to work in tandem. Yes, maybe it is on them, but it is also on us, I think, to the extent possible, to make sure that we have informed students properly about how to succeed. When we've given them our best advice on how they can succeed in a class that we designed. So, again, I'll refer to this just as the example. You've already done this now for yourself, at least tentatively, how you've kind of worked on what your pedagogical design might be just in terms of workload. This would already be really helpful, I think, to students to say, I'm really busy, I've got a full-time job and 3 kids and a spouse at home and all these other things going on. How do I actually fit in that 9 to 12 hours a week during the week to get my work done? If we've helped students to figure out what are all the tasks that they need to complete during the week and about how long do we think that they're going to need to take, this at least gives the students up front the ability to say, all right, I need to carve out time to do these things. And which of them might I be able to do when I'm walking the dogs, listening to headphones? Which ones am I going to have to carve out some quiet time to do? Which ones am I going to have to be at a computer working on? And those kinds of things. And I think for our own sanity and our own satisfaction and finding meaning and in our classes and not burning out, we can decide for ourselves, like, what are all the things we have to do during the week and how do I allocate my time during the week? So let's keep this in the back of our heads or in the front of our heads, right behind what we're thinking about right now. So let me mention something about pacing. I'm using pacing to describe how a course runs week by week, but also day by day during the week. Now, every course runs for a certain number of weeks, 15 weeks, 12 weeks, 10 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. And different people design their courses in different ways. Some of us talk about things in terms of chapters of a textbook. Some of us talk about, my course has 3 units, whatever, one on ethics, one on political philosophy, one on metaphysics, whatever. We've got units, we've got chapters, or maybe we've designed it by weeks. Here's what's happening week 1, week 2, week 3. But nonetheless, actual time runs week by week and day by day and minute by minute. And so by pacing, what I mean is that advice we give to students about what they should be doing to succeed in the course over the course of a week, or over the course of 2 weeks, or over the course of a unit, or between now and 4 weeks from now when the research paper's due. How do we take the hours per week or hours per 2 or 3 week unit, and how do we best think the student should allocate that time over the course of the week so that they keep their time on task, so that they stay motivated, so that they don't fall behind, so that they see why things are important to do in a certain order, etc. So a comment about the traditional face-to-face class. The pacing is automatically built in. If you're teaching a regular face-to-face class or a flipped class, it doesn't matter, all of your teaching time is live. You may be having students do work on a D2L website. You may be doing things on that website that feel like teaching. But for the student and for you, it's pretty clear that the class meets on Tuesday and Thursday for an hour and 15 minutes, and that's the instructor-directed teaching. Well, that probably means that in between the instructor-directed teaching, students are doing independent work and we're doing independent work. So what happens? We meet on Tuesday, we do something in class, whatever that is, and then after class, the students are doing something, right? They're reading, they're studying, they're working on assignments, they're working on a group project, all of the things they're doing. You are prepping for class, you're looking at the homework that they turned in, you're offering feedback so that you can hand it back when you come back to class, and this natural pacing occurs, right? There's instructor-directed teaching time, and then there's independent time, and then there's more instructor-directed teaching time, and then over the weekend, students are supposed to be, I don't know, finishing up whatever they were supposed to do this week and reading ahead so that when they come to class on Tuesday, they know what's going on. Maybe they're supposed to, if they don't do the reading, then it's hard to do the teaching that you want to do. But I want to say this, right? It's built in. It's automatic. A class meets once a week. It meets twice a week. It meets 3 days a week or whatever. And students know that pacing and the routine of homework and coming to class and doing homework and coming to class, etc. We just take it for granted. And I'll challenge you. I mean, my sense is, I've sat in on many classes over my more than 20 years as a teacher. Most of the time, teachers, they take the first several minutes of class to do housekeeping. Here's what you were supposed to have done before today. Please turn in your homework. Or remember there's an essay coming up in 2 weeks or a week. Or remember what we're doing on Thursday as we're going to the library. Or remember that you need to get online with your group members between now and Thursday so you can work on the group project. Or over the weekend you need to do this. We often end class by saying, don't forget, we're going to meet on Thursday and we're going to be doing a group project, or we're going to be watching a video. And so between now and then, you need to do this. We give students a lot of help. We basically build in for them the pacing that they should have, right? There's time to do homework, there's time to come to class, and then you do more homework, and then you come to class. And, we don't just say, you've got 12 hours of stuff to do this week, figure out when to do it, right? Because we have certain days of the week that we're teaching. We need students who have done certain things. We need to have done certain things by certain days of the week so that the class will run the way we want it to run. We know what happens when students don't hold up their end of the bargain. We also know what happens when we don't, right? If we fail to grade their homework, then we can't hand it back and we can't talk about it. We can't close the loop. Well, what happens in a hybrid or an online class is much more difficult. Certainly in an online class, there are no face-to-face meetings. There is often no help. Students may know, here are the due dates, right? I have a quiz due at this point. I have a Dropbox assignment due in 2 weeks. But we may leave them pretty much on their own to figure out how to actually allocate their time day by day, what's most important, how much time should I be spending on things. And unless we really go out of our way as online teachers, students may be completely on their own to try to figure out how to pace themselves during the week. And I can tell you from experience, lots of online students want everything to be due on Friday. Like, they don't want to pace the week. They're busy. They want to do all their work on Saturday or all their work on Sunday. And that may work in some classes, but you saw my course design. I want to do my teaching and discussions during the week. If students are waiting until the weekend and expecting to do all of their work on the weekend, then I can't do the kind of teaching that I designed my class around. In my class, students must log in multiple days per week. They must participate in discussion on multiple days per week. If they don't do that, then my course design doesn't work. I could design a class where students did all their work on the weekend, but it would be a different class than the one I've designed. So again, I'm not telling you what kind of class to design, but if you have designed your teaching so that you need students to be doing work during the week on certain days of the week and have things due and done at certain points, if you want to be able to close the loop on a formative assessment, they have to turn that assessment in so you can give them the feedback so they can read it and make a change for the next assignment, right? I think they need your help. They need not only help in terms of due dates and deliverables, but they need help. How should I manage my time this week? I've got 9 to 12 hours. How should I allocate it? What I tell my students is the best possible thing you could do is log into the class 5 days a week and go to discussions and spend 15 or 20 minutes a day in open discussion. That's probably the best thing you can do. If you're in the class 5 days a week, you can also then see my news items and all those other things, and everything else will fall into place. I'll tell you that I build my class so that discussions end on Friday night. There are no discussions going on Saturday. There's never anything due on Saturday because I know students often want to spend Saturday reading, doing work on major essays, and getting ready for the next week. So my week starts on Sunday. It ends on Saturday, but all of the work is due by Friday night, right? So Saturday is left for the students to do studying. Sunday's when all the discussion topics open. Students can be taking quizzes. They can work ahead. I often have quizzes due on Tuesday night, not often, every week. They can do them early, but they have to be done by Tuesday night. I have activities and writing prompts that are due throughout the week. And again, my class is a 6-credit class. There is no way students can do all the work on Friday or Saturday. I mean, there is literally not enough time in the day, right? I mean, a 6-credit class, students could be spending up to 24 hours a week on that class. They cannot do that in one day. Carrie and I do get some pushback. Students will tell us, I don't want to take quizzes on. Why do quizzes have to be due on Tuesday? Well, I have a reason quizzes need to be due on Tuesday. Quizzes are the part of my class where the students get to assess their own understanding of the content. And I expect them to master the content by Tuesday. Right? They have access to the reading starting on the previous Thursday. They can spend all Friday, Saturday, and Sunday doing the reading, planning ahead, studying, taking the quiz multiple times so that by Tuesday they've mastered the content, and then their work in discussions and their work on activities and writing prompts is informed by the mastery of the content. They can't do discussions in a meaningful way unless they understand the content. In fact, the work they would do in discussions without understanding the content is wasted. They're wasting their own time, they're frustrated, they don't see why they're doing the discussion because they haven't done the reading yet. So I have a deliverable due Tuesday night. Many students are finishing the quiz on Sunday or Monday, and they know that they're going to go into that week with a cohort of students who all understand the material. Discussions work better, everything else works better. Look, again, I don't care what kind of class you design. If it's a hybrid class, well, then you've got to decide which days of the week are they meeting face-to-face, and how do I tell them how to keep that online part of the class at the front of their brains, and when should they be doing the online? Is there a day during the week that you want them to do the online stuff? Should they be doing online stuff throughout the week? How does that work? A flipped class is basically like a face-to-face class, but I think the pacing comes in there because you are asking and changing the expectations for what they used to think of as homework. It may be critically important that they watch the video lecture or that they do the practice work ahead of time before they come to class. What is that online or hybrid pacing look like? What do you want them doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday? Again, in a flipped class, you're going to meet those days of the week, but what they're doing here may be different, or why it's so important may be different. So I'm almost 15 minutes in. I'm going to close this out in just a minute, but let me offer a few final tips and hints. And I said this wasn't going to be about tips and tricks, but maybe I'll synopsize what I hope you might have gotten out of this unit number 1. You need to have a pedagogical design for your class. You need to think about workload. You need to think about what instructor-directed teaching is, what you want to accomplish there, and what students need to do to help you both accomplish those goals. That'll help you figure out independent teacher and independent student time. You need to think about what should students be doing for those 6 to 9 hours a week outside of class. I think you want to think about pacing. You want to help them and be explicit with helping them do that pacing during the week. I'm going to show you one more example in a minute. Here's what I think you want to be able to do to your students. You want to share it with them. You need to have it so you can share it. You need to understand it so you can explain it to them in a way where they'll say, wow, there's no busy work in this class, right? Everything in this class is there for a reason. And that helps students not blow things off, right? Because if they know that you've designed the class with a purpose and everything's there for a reason, and you can explain that reason to them, and you can tell them why quizzes need to be due on Tuesday or whatever, I think that makes a big difference. So I think you want to think about what instructor-directed teaching is and what that means for you and your students, and explain that to them in some way. In an online or a hybrid class, this is probably not as important in a flipped class. You want to make sure they know where they're going to see you in class. Where are they going to experience teacher presence? My students know. In a writing prompt, they could go all week. They're going to be communicating and interacting with their classmates. They're not going to see me in there. They don't feel bad for not seeing me in a writing prompt because they know I'm going to be in open discussion and I'm going to be giving them feedback. Be clear about roles and responsibilities for various assignments and class activities. What is the student role in discussion, and how does that match up with your role in discussion? What's the student role in the peer review or the homework so that you can do your part, right? Teaching and learning are, two sides of a coin, or that synergistic thing that's happening. If you can be clear to your students about how what they do and what you do interact, I think they'll be happier and you'll be happier. And I think the more advice and the more clear advice you can offer them on course pacing, on workload expectations, they will be more likely to succeed in the class. If they know they need to carve out 12 hours a week for the class every week and you're explicit about when things are due, you will help them get that work done. And I'm going to, let's see if I can, maybe I can do this. Let's escape out of here. I was just going to give you an example. There is not one right way to do the course pacing stuff, but I thought since I'm asking you to tell me and self-disclose, I'm going to self-disclose to you. This is week 2 agenda for my online class, the one I teach with Carrie. Every week we do something called an agenda, and it is the first thing in the content module every week. So our class goes week 1, week 2, week 3, all the way down to week 15. In D2L, in the week 2 content module, the first item is called week 2 agenda. Week 3 agenda is the first thing in week 3. And what do? We offer the main objectives for the week. What are we doing this week? And then we list everything that's due that week in the order that we think students should do it. Well, they need to do the reading first. They need to do reading from the English textbook. They need to do reading for ethics. Then they need to do the quiz, because that's the thing that comes next. They need to quiz to mastery, and that's happening early in the week. Then they need to move on to the activities. The activity was actually open, but we want to make sure students do the quiz first and do the activity second, because they'll do better on the activity. It'll make sense once they've mastered the content. Then we remind them about an upcoming essay, a longer term assignment that we want them to think about. Then we want them to do activity number 3. Then we want them to do writing prompt number 3. Then we want them to do open discussion. There's a lot of things going on. Sometimes our agenda will run on for 3 pages, right? This is a 6-credit class. I think I could improve this, and I'm going to take it as my own challenge during this online teaching workshop to work with Carrie. There's something missing. I'm offering everything that's due during the week. I'm offering pacing information. I'm telling students the order I think they should do the stuff in. What I haven't done is say about how much time does each one of these things take. So that's my challenge to myself this semester, is to incorporate the workload planning into my agenda. I think I am, I don't know, 20 minutes in or so. Let me minimize this, minimize this. I'm trying to get back to my Screencast-O-Matic screen. If you're looking at my screen, I'll just, since I'm showing you this, these are mountain lion tracks that I followed a few years ago when I was hiking with my dogs. So that's it. I will ask you to do one more thing as the third and final component of Unit 1 of the online teaching workshop, and I look forward to talking and working with you on this stuff.